This is Hashtag History episode 54. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And welcome to our true crime podcast that we disguise as a history podcast by covering murders that occurred in 1828.
Yeah.
We're just keeping it historic here.
Yeah, so historic.
So historic. Are we doing a good job with the disguising? I don't know.
Yeah, probably not as good as we hope.
Yeah. Well, we've had a number of listeners reach out and ask us how we select our topics for episodes. And the answer we keep giving is that we go down rabbit holes while researching other topics, and then end up accumulating another 500 topics in the course of that research. Now, this week's episode is no exception. If you can throw yourself all the way back to season 3, episode 26, when we discussed Leonardo da Vinci, a topic we briefly touched on was the fact that da Vinci very possibly was involved in grave robbing in order to obtain human bodies for his dissections. And that's the rabbit hole I went down, grave robbing. And that is how I ended up on this week's topic. This week, we are discussing the Burke and Hare murders, which were a series of murders that occurred in Edinburgh, Scotland, in the year 1828, in which William Burke and William Hare killed 16 different people and then turned around and sold the corpses to an anatomist for his dissections. In essence, getting paid to murder. Yeah. Now, we need a drink before dissecting this week's episode.
Gross.
I had to. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
Okay. Cocktail in hand. Rachel's
can't
cocktail has half an orange in it.
I just threw it in there. I didn't want it to go to waste.
Okay, today's cocktail is none other than a play on a Scottish mule. Mm. We've had Moscow mules. Yeah. We've had Kentucky mules. But what, can you guess, makes a Scottish mule different? Well, you use scotch.
Okay. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's literally like a Kentucky mule, except instead of Kentucky whiskey, you use scotch. So it's
perfect.
Yeah, so it's like a shot of scotch with 0.5 ounces of orange liqueur, and then top it off with ginger beer. We have ours in my fancy mule glasses, which is my favorite.
Cute. I love it.
Yeah. So it's simple. It uses ingredients I often have in my bar, and it obviously ties to the Scottish heritage of today's story. And that's all I got.
I love it.
Cheers.
This one, do we even need to rate? We know we're going to love it.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's a mule.
It's your favorite drink.
Yeah.
This is delicious.
Oh, and you know what I just realized? A lot of the times in Kentucky mules, you put lemon juice in, and this didn't call for lemon or lime juice. Uh-huh. This didn't.
But
call
lots
for
of
that.
orange.
Yeah,
orange
like
liqueur
orange liqueur. And we garnished it with an orange. There's a whole nother half an orange out there if you want to squeeze that in there.
This is perfect. 10?
Okay. 10. I mean, this is my favorite drink.
Yeah.
A mule is my favorite.
Oh my God. This is so good.
Yeah.
And presentation, it's stunning.
It really, guys, just wait for us to post the picture of this.
It's the best cocktail picture we've ever taken.
We were like, why can't we look as good as this drink looks right now?
Yeah. Why aren't the filters on me as good as the filters we put on this cocktail? Yeah. Oh my God. So we have to start with grave robbing and why it was like, OMG, so popular.
It really was.
It really was. Medical schools saw a huge wave of popularity in the early 1800s. Medical schools had only been around for a few decades at this point, and there was a major surge in the study of anatomy. In fact, in Edinburgh alone, which is where we will be spending the majority of this week's episode, by the 1820s, there were over 1,000 medical students there. But here arose the age-old problem of supply and demand. There simply were not enough cadavers that had been legally and legitimately obtained for the medical students to dissect in the course of their studies. At this point, the way to legally obtain bodies for medical studies was to use the bodies of executed criminals. In a weird catch-22, because not having enough criminals is a great problem to have.
For sure.
There simply were not enough bodies of criminals available for dissection. And thus, the body snatching business was born. Those involved in the illegal trade became known as resurrectionists or ghouls. These ghouls, as I will call them, generally worked in teams. You'd have a few guys doing the actual digging up of the bodies, while you usually had another guy standing watch and yet another ready to speed away in a getaway car. This whole process was pretty well thought out. Generally, ghouls would dig with a wooden spade because it was quieter than a metal shovel. Once they, just the thought process.
I know.
That went into
I was
all
like,
this,
they put a lot of thought into
we
this.
would be loud AF. We would be wearing dangly earrings that jingled the entire time.
Yeah, and like yelling at each other. Like
that is what it would be. Like that one time I screamed at you from on stage. Once they reached the coffin, they would use a crowbar to crack it open and then would use rope to tie around the body. Usually they would tie it just around the head and then lift the body out from the grave. They would then refill the hole with the soil they had dug out and then speed away with the body. This whole process from start to finish usually took about an hour to an hour and a half.
That's cuckoo crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Again, we would take a solid 8 hours.
It would take
a solid
so
work day.
long. We'd be like gabbing and like
taking a break, pouring a cocktail,
maybe some snacky salami and cheese.
Yes. It would be like not even worth it anymore because obviously they did this like at night. It would be like 6 a.m. bright outside. People are saying like good morning to us while they're walking to work. We're covered in dirt pulling a body out of the ground.
Oh my gosh.
The bodies that were most often targeted were new, fresh ones.
I would assume so.
Yes. Not only did the medical schools prefer more fresh bodies, I'm going to try to stop using the word fresh.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But also because it was way easier to dig up fresh, okay, I lied, soil. This means that most graves that were robbed within the first day or two that the body was in the earth. Something else I learned from cemeteryindex.com, because yes, that's where I got my information from. And yes, we are officially.
Your FBI person is like...
They're busy. We're on this FBI watch list because of our web search history. And yeah.
Not just busy, they're like, this girl is into some weird stuff.
They're like, she started as an intern and they're like, your position is now full time. She's actually grateful to me. She's got that government job with the good health care because of me. Oh, man. Anyway, from cemeteryindex.com. Hey, government girl checking out my shit. The medical students were pretty picky about the bodies that they dissected. They preferred the bodies to be pretty thin because they didn't like to have to cut through a lot of fat and muscle.
That's gross.
It's gross. I learned a lot here. Yeah. But they also preferred bodies that were fully developed. So if there was an ideal body, it was more likely than not one that belonged to a teenager. This obviously meant that oftentimes these grave robbers were scoping out the ill and attending funerals in order to determine height, weight, age, gender, and so on of the bodies that they would later steal.
It's so dark.
It's so dark. They are literally the person you see in those movies where it's like the person at the funeral that's standing like far away in the black suit. That is your grave robber. It was good bitness. It was good business, folks. It was good business. You got paid well by medical schools in exchange for a fresh body.
Stop.
I know. I said I would. But also, like it's illegal.
Right.
And it's not an easy business. Cemeteries, particularly in Edinburgh, started employing night guards to watch the graves. In fact, sometimes families would even stake out at the grave sites of their passed on loved ones for 2 to 3 weeks following the death.
Oh my God, it was so bad that people actually had to do that.
Can you imagine doing that? I imagine, this is 1,000,000% speculation, but if you told your work, just say you tell your job, like, my grandma passed away or something, right? They would understand that you needed to take 3 weeks off of work, right?
Speaking of that just reminded me of a thing on TikTok I saw where it was like, tell me you have millennial anxiety without telling me you have millennial anxiety. And someone was like, I apologized to my boss the day after I had to take off work because my grandpa died.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my God, you actually have to apologize. Well, or you feel like you have to apologize
you feel guilty
for missing work because your grandpa died.
Oh my God.
Which literally has happened to me.
Some families took even further steps to ensure the safety of the bodies by installing death safes. Do you know what a death safe is?
No.
Okay. We're going to check one out. So this is a death safe. It's also known as a mort safe.
Oh, it's literally a cage around a grave.
Yes. A cage.
It's a cage.
That's sad.
That's really sad.
So that's a picture. The one that Leah's viewing now that we will post on our Instagram later is a picture of one of these death safes that is still, you can still see in Edinburgh today.
That's crazy.
I know. That is so sad to me. And I think, obviously, like as time has gone on, things have inflated. Funerals are very, very expensive nowadays. Expensive. They're so expensive. But imagine, so I don't know what the expenses were in the early 1800s, but I imagine, there's still some expenses associated with burying a loved one.
Yeah.
In addition to that, you also have to pay for a cage to go over like their gravesite.
I'm sure the iron workers were very happy.
I know. The iron business was a booming. So this is the environment in which the Burke and Hare murders occurred. Supreme need for bodies for medical studies, but it's not exactly easy to rob a grave. Burke and Hare are oftentimes looped in with grave robbers, even though they never once actually robbed a grave. Rather, in the words of a narrator from a BBC documentary that I watched in preparation for this week's episode, Burke and Hare didn't rob graves, they created corpses.
Yeah.
So, let's meet Burke and Hare. I've uploaded a picture of William Burke for you to check out, Leah.
I'm going to guess.
Guess before you look.
Handsome. Handsome? Okay, hold on.
The picture, I guess the picture doesn't super look like he's handsome, but he was.
Yeah. No, I think that's handsome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very young. He looks young. He has like almost like the chubby cheeks of a younger gentleman who hasn't quite grown into himself yet. Yeah. And yeah, he looks well dressed, well maintained. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually an excellent way to describe him because many people did say he was like a very good looking guy.
Yeah.
He was born in Ireland in 1792. And in 1817, when he was about 25 years old, he left his wife and 2 children behind in Ireland and he emigrated to Scotland. He worked a number of different jobs here as a baker, a cobbler, a weaver.
A candlestick maker.
Yeah, all the things. I'm trying to think of other things. A dancer, a singer. He did all the things. And he eventually met a woman named Helen McDougall, whom he would later take on as his second wife. Burke was, like you said already when you looked at that picture, he was a pretty good-looking, easygoing guy that loved to laugh and dance and play music.
Oh, okay. So he did some dancing, too.
Yeah, he did. He did indeed. And then I have a picture here of William Hare. Yes, everyone is named William in this story.
Yes. Billy.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? She said, okay, and her eyebrows instantly went into like the U shape.
It's the brows. Those are some dark brows.
Yeah.
I literally would describe him as the opposite of the other guy.
Mm-hmm. Did you read my notes?
No. No. But he's like dark features, very chiseled jawline. Yeah. Just literally opposite in every way that you could be.
Yes. That is a perfect description, and you will hear why shortly. Hare was also born and raised in Ireland. The exact date of his birth is not known for certain, but it is believed that he was born in 1792, which would be the exact same year as Burke. He also emigrated to Scotland sometime in the mid-1820s. Since we don't know for sure his date of birth, all we can say for certain is that he was in his mid to late 20s at this time.
Okay.
He got a job working on the Edinburgh Canal, where he met a man who ran a local lodging house in the Westport area. When this man died, Hare married his widow, nice. Margaret, who continued to run the lodging house. Unlike Burke, Hare was not a particularly likable person. In fact, he was known to be a jerk.
Yeah, you could see that in that picture.
You can. Mm-hmm. And as the story goes, so was his wife.
Oh.
So Burke and Hare met through work, and Burke eventually moved into Hare's lodging house. A good story to really show the difference between the two men is this. There's a story that Burke and Hare went out for drinks. Everyone, they're putting down their money on the counter for their drinks throughout the night, right? At the end of the night, so the money is all still on the counter, Hare picked up everyone's money and shoved it in his pockets forcing Burke to pick up the tab.
And Burke actually did.
And Burke did.
Wow.
When someone that was in their group called Hare out for doing this, Hare pushed the guy to the ground and kicked him in the face.
Okay, so he's literally a douche.
He's literally a douche. And Burke is the guy that's like picked up the tab for the group. Yeah. Like polar opposites, right?
Yeah.
Now, before we continue, I have to introduce you to one final character, a man named Dr. Robert Knox. Knox was a military surgeon turned lecturer at the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. He gave twice-a-day lectures that were super popular, bringing in hundreds of students every time. Legend has it that his lectures were much more popular than others because Knox was never short on bodies to dissect. In November of 1827, a lodger at the Hare lodging house died of natural causes, and apparently Hare was pissed because the man still owed some £4 in back rent. To basically get payback for this, Burke and Hare both decided to sell his body off to a local anatomist. When a coffin was dropped off for the body, Burke and Hare instead filled it with bark to weigh it down, sealed it up, and went on their way to the local university to sell the body.
Based on the description of them, I'm surprised that Burke would be involved with this kind of tomfoolery.
Yeah, I think money is motivating.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Especially in a time like this. Because, yeah, of course, he seems like the more likable, reasonable guy, but he gets very involved.
Very involved. Okay.
So they go down to the local university to sell this body. They initially were on the hunt for a Professor Monroe. When they stopped a student to ask for directions to the professor, the student, upon learning that they were trying to sell a body to an anatomist, sent them in the direction of Dr. Knox. Knox gladly took the body, didn't ask any questions, and paid the men £7 and 10 shillings, which is the equivalent in today's money in US dollars, approximately $1,200. That's a lot.
That's a lot, but also I wouldn't kill someone for $1,200.
You have a very good point there.
Okay.
Is $1,200 worth it?
No.
No, but if you were to happen upon
maybe
if you were to happen upon a body,
right,
$1,200 is nice.
Yeah.
Okay. not encouraging anything here.
No.
Anyway, Knox told the men that his door would always be open should they ever have another body they wished to sell. This is all speculative storytelling on my part, but this is the part of the story where I imagine the two men like looked at each other on their walk home, right?
We're like, is this feasible?
Yeah, like they didn't actually say anything to each other.
They just squinted at each other.
And they knew what each other was thinking?
Yeah. It was like an episode of How I Met Your Mother when they like just talk to each other.
Yes.
Non-verbally.
With their eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But again, that's not in a history book anywhere.
It's not.
These telepathic conversations are not in history textbooks, but I very much see that as being the moment where they're like,
If ever a movie was to be made about it, it would definitely be, they were crossing a park, they look at each other and went, just kind of shook their head.
Should we?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there, my name is Annalisa, and I'm the founder of Accessible Art History. As a part of my content offerings, I produce a podcast. For the first several seasons, I will be discussing 50 objects that shape the history of Western art. From prehistoric cave paintings to contemporary art, I'll be covering it all. The podcast was designed for everyone, from the casual couch historian to a museum's expert. It all fits within the larger mission of Accessible Art History, to create a space for art history lovers, students, and anyone who is curious to explore all periods of art history and human creation. New episodes drop every Monday on your favorite podcast platform. Make sure to follow the Instagram page for all updates at accessible.art.history.
Burke and Hare's official first victim, so the first person they murdered, was another tenant at the lodging house whom they apparently got drunk with whiskey, drink up, bitches, and then suffocated. Don't do that part.
No, you can drink whiskey though.
Yeah. Their next several victims were random people that they invited back to the lodging house and then plied with whiskey and later suffocated. This would be their primary method of murder for the remaining 13 victims. I'm not going to go into much detail about every single one of the murders, although some of the stories are really horrendous. Like one particular victim that was walking home drunk, a policeman was assisting her when Burke stopped him and said, "Don't worry, I'll take her home." And the cop was like, "Cool. So he let Burke take her home and then he murdered her. Or the story of an older woman who was staying at the lodging house that Burke and Hare eventually murdered. And then just a few months later, the woman's daughter came and stayed at the lodging house and was also murdered. And finally, there is a horrific story of an elderly grandma that Burke and Hare murdered, followed up by killing her blind grandson by literally breaking his back across Hare's knee.
Oh my God, that is like straight out of a fucking karate movie or something.
Awful.
That's gross.
Just know that all of these murders were horrendous, that Knox had started paying them more for the bodies, and that sometimes Hare would kill on his own and then take in the money on his own. This led to a fight between the two men because on this one particular occasion, Burke went out of town for a bit. When he returned, he found Hare wearing like all new clothes, not even trying to hide it. And so Burke asked him, like, "You sell a body without me, man?" Hare denied it, but Burke checked in with Dr. Knox, who confirmed that Hare had brought the body of a young woman to him all on his own.
He's like, "You killing people without me, man?"
But also, I just love that it's like, he didn't even try to hide it. It wasn't like
he was just like wearing a new ascot or something.
Yes. And he's like, "I know you ain't got money like that." Following this argument, Burke and his wife moved out of the Hare lodging house and into his cousin's place, this guy named John Broggins. He had a lodging house that was about 2 streets away. The mistake that Burke and Hare made, other than murdering anyone in the first place, of course, was murdering someone well known. You just talked about this a few weeks ago in your Elizabeth Bathory episode, Leah, that no one started caring until Bathory started supposedly killing more upper class women, right?
Correct.
Same deal here.
Yeah.
The first of these well-known victims was a woman named Mary Patterson. In April of 1828, Burke invited both Patterson and her friend Janet Brown back to the lodging house for some whiskey. These people and their whiskey.
It's the Scots, man.
I know. At some point, a huge fight broke out between Burke and his wife, Helen McDougall, when she suspected him of having an affair that night because he's hanging out with these ladies, right? Yeah. Janet Brown was like, deuces. And she bounced. But Mary Patterson, who was thoroughly sloshed, had fallen asleep. When Hare arrived, the two men smothered Patterson and killed her. Legend has it that when they took her body to Knox, the body was still warm. But here's where the trouble occurred. One of Knox's assistants, who was there when the body was delivered, asked where the men had gotten the body because he was pretty freaking sure he recognized Mary Patterson. Burke and Hare lied and said that they had bought the body off of an old lady that had said Patterson had drunk herself to death. In addition to the assistant recognizing Patterson, also remember that she went to the lodging house with a friend, Janet Brown. When Brown came back to collect Patterson the following day, she was told that Patterson had stepped out. Suspicious, right?
Super sus.
Sus. The next well-known victim of Burke and Hare was a man named James Wilson. He was known around town as Daft Jamie.
So not the most steady, stable person.
He was a mentally disabled man with a limp. He had deformed feet. Aww. And I know, but he was well known because he wandered the streets of Edinburgh regularly. Burke and Hare brought him back to their place, plied him with whiskey, and killed him. When they unveiled the body to Dr. Knox, who gladly accepted it, several of his students immediately recognized Wilson. Prior to performing the public dissection, though, Dr. Knox removed Wilson's head and his distinct deformed feet so that he would not be easily identified by the masses.
I mean, yeah, gross. Let me just chop off this guy's head and feet real quick.
Yeah, I guess he would have to have saved that body for like, we're doing heart dissections today.
Yeah, because like the people in the audience wouldn't be like, yo, why does this person not have feet or a head?
Burke and Hare's final victim was a woman. She was a woman named Margaret Docherty. They brought her back to the Broggan house. Remember the place that Burke and his wife were now staying after that fight that he and Hare had. There were already 2 lodgers at the house, though, James and Anne Gray, and Burke and Hare quite literally paid these lodgers to pack up their shit for the night and go stay at the Hare house instead. Obviously, so they could kill poor Miss Daugherty without prying eyes, but that's so ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
The Greys did leave, but they came back at one point in the night to grab a few more belongings and found Burke and Hare and Daugherty drunk AF.
Yeah.
When the Greys returned the following morning, Daugherty was nowhere in sight. The Greys were super suspicious, and when they were alone, they searched the house and found Daugherty's lifeless body in a pile of straw at the end of one of the beds.
Like, what the like,
we're not working with geniuses here.
No, we're not.
We're really, really not. Who leaves the body behind in a pile of
They're
straw?
like, just cover it up with some straw at the bottom of the bed. Like, what the
I know. When the Greys left to go tell authorities, Burke and Hare, none the wiser, took the body to Dr. Knox. Shortly thereafter, though, they were apprehended by the cops and questioned. Under questioning, they provided totally conflicting stories and timelines about when Daugherty had supposedly left the lodging house. A tip directed the police to Dr. Knox's dissection room, and once they located Daugherty's body there, they arrested Hare and his wife. Because, FYI, both of the wives of these men were super involved in many of the murders. The Burke and Hare killing spree was finally put to an end after 10 long months. In total, Burke and Hare had killed 16 people.
It's not the 400. Like
a Bathory.
Bathory. Yep.
Eventually, Burke, Hare, and both of their wives, so they were arrested. They also arrested Burke's cousin, John Brogan, since the final murder had occurred at his place, but they later released him, not finding enough evidence to hold him. All 4 individuals were separated and went on to tell very different, very conflicting stories. Again, not working with geniuses here. You gotta get your stories straight.
Like, to be honest, if we ever were thinking about committing a murder, we'd be like, here's our story.
Here's the communication plan.
Yes.
Don't veer from the communication plan.
We'll write it in a Google Doc.
Don't make edits. I will see your track changes. Yeah. 100% it would be in a collaborative Google Doc.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
That's good. In addition to that, this wasn't an easy case to try. Think about it. Of the 16 victims, we only have the body of one. Their last victim, Margaret Daugherty.
That brings me to a question of what did the hospital or whatever the school do after they dissected them? Did they like burn them or something?
I guess
throw them in the river. Like,
I guess I don't actually know what the process is for getting rid of a cadaver after you've dissected it. But obviously, I mean, regardless of what they did, these bodies aren't in a position to be easily identified whatsoever.
Sure. Yeah.
All of the victims, like you just said, they'd been dissected by this point, and even Daugherty's body didn't help authorities much. Forensic specialists believe that she had likely been suffocated, but they couldn't 100% prove this. Investigators also went to Dr. Knox, who, of course, denied any knowledge of the murders. Most historians nowadays argue that, of course, Knox knew that each of the bodies brought to him were victims of murder, and he simply didn't care. Or, as others believe, he simply didn't want to know the truth, and so he avoided it. What it came down to was Sir William Ray, who was the Lord Advocate, which, for anyone that's not familiar with that title, it refers to the chief legal officer in Scotland. He offered Hare and his wife full immunity if Hare would turn on Burke and provide the state with evidence of the murders. And thus, only 4 days after Daugherty's murder, Hare spilled all the beans. Which, again, if you and I were doing this, I'm hoping there's a little more loyalty between us, right?
Oh, I was sure.
Were you thinking I was going to say I would totally
That's
turn
what I
on
thought you were about to say.
No.
Is like you would be like, this bitch.
Delete the Google Doc. Add edits. No, I would hope there's a little more loyalty between us than to immediately spill all the beans.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Eye roll.
We're looking at each other a little suspiciously right now. I'm not sure.
There's a little suspicion here.
You're like, full immunity though. Interesting. Pretty good deal. Hare would give a confession in which he provided testimony about each and every one of the 16 deaths. By the end of that same day, Burke and his wife would be charged with the murders of Mary Patterson, James Wilson, and Margaret Daugherty. In his confession, Burke stated that Dr. Knox was totally innocent, but this didn't do the doctor much good. He would fight to rebuild his reputation for the rest of his life.
Good.
I completely agree. He had to have known.
Yeah.
You're a doctor.
Yes, if you're bringing a warm body to me.
Yes. And bodies that your students and assistants are saying, like, I literally just saw this person yesterday and they look totally fine.
Yeah.
He would end up moving to London just to get out of the city and away from the rumors, maybe probably truths, that haunted him there. He would later also be removed from the roll of fellows at the Royal Society of Edinburgh. The trial of Burke and his wife, which began on Christmas Eve of 1828, was swift. It was determined that there was not enough evidence to convict his wife, but there was plenty of evidence against Burke. Dozens of witnesses, many of which were assistants to Dr. Knox, confirmed that Burke had been seen bringing in the bodies of known murder victims. Other witnesses for the prosecution were, of course, Hare and his wife, who, of course, blamed Burke for all of the murders.
Those bitches.
I know. I think you and I are looking at each other suspiciously about what we would do. I still feel like even if I was given I'm given full immunity, you're not going to prosecute me regardless of what I say. I'm not going to say you did every single thing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if I don't know, I just have immunity here. Like, yep, you're right. We did this together.
Yeah.
Hare said he had just been there to help take the bodies to Dr. Knox.
You bitch.
But that he had nothing at all to do with the deaths. In a confession Burke would later give, he placed the blame on Hare. There's no loyalty here.
No.
There's none. Burke was found guilty and sentenced to hang on January 28th, 1829, in front of a crowd of some 25,000 people.
Dang.
In a very ironic twist of fate, Burke's corpse was given to Professor Monroe. I'm not sure if you remember him from early on in the episode. Mm-hmm. For anyone that doesn't remember, he was the man that Burke and Hare initially sought out to sell their first body to before they were redirected to Dr. Knox. Well, Monroe, again in this amazing twist of fate, would publicly dissect Burke's corpse in front of so many students that they had to issue tickets for it. It's super gross, but allegedly several of the students there that day took bits of Burke's skin and used it for things like book covers and wallets. Yeah. She's looking at me like she doesn't believe me. It's true.
That's gross.
Yeah. You looked at me like, you lying. I have a picture here to show you, Leah, and don't be alarmed. It isn't a book cover made out of skin. Although the skin book is available to view on display at the Surgeons Hall Museum in Edinburgh today.
Great.
Yeah, but this is something else.
Okay. Oh.
Not a skin book.
Okay, so the picture in our files is named Burke today, and I was like, this dude would be like not 600, but like multiple hundreds of years old. You like, over.
Yes.
It's a skeleton. And I'm assuming he's in the same museum.
It's a different museum, but yeah, it's Burke's skeleton at the Anatomical Museum of the Edinburgh Medical School. I just find this so eerily and morbidly funny that the man responsible for murdering more than a dozen people and handing their bodies off for medical studies would one day also be killed, and his body would also be donated to medical studies.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's ironic. Isn't it ironic?
Isn't it ironic?
Don't you think?
So how about the other guy responsible for these murders, Hare? What happened to him?
Yeah.
He was released in the days following Burke's execution and fled to the English border where no one knows what happened to him. Prior to his fleeing, though, he was hounded by the public, as were both of the wives of these men. Mm-hmm. They had rocks thrown at them. They had to live, with disguises. They had to escape out of back windows and so on to avoid the disgusted and disappointed Scottish people.
Yeah.
The story of the Burke and Hare murders lives on today, not only because it is so fascinating, but also because there are remnants of it everywhere. Not only are there museum artifacts still around today to represent this horrific chapter in history, but terms and rhymes have also been created in its honor. For example, the term burking refers to killing someone for the purpose of selling their corpse. If you've never heard that term before, know that it is a very real term, and there are very real laws about it today known as burking laws.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
It was somewhere in the back of my mind too, but like there are U.S. laws, burking laws.
Wow.
Crazy. Another more modern reference that exists today to forever remind us of Burke and Hare is something I'm just going to have you check out a picture of, Leah.
Okay.
There are actually 2 pictures.
All right. So the first picture is a strip club called Burke and Hare.
Yeah.
It's all includes pole dancing and lap dancing according to the sign out front.
This is correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It looks sketch, but I mean it is a club, a gentleman's club, if you will.
Yes.
Oh, and then here's another. And also about pole dancing. That's kind of weird.
Yes, so this is the Burke and Hare lap dancing bar located in Edinburgh today. And although they are currently closed due to COVID, their website does want all potential patrons to know that when they do reopen, they will continue to be one of Scotland's premier strip and lap dancing clubs where, quote, whatever the occasion, we guarantee you a night to remember.
Oh.
I'm interested in visiting.
Are you really?
A little bit, yes. And finally, a lasting reference to the horrendous Burke and Hare murders is this. A rhyme was created in honor of Burke and Hare that I'm going to force you to read, Leah. Mm-hmm. And while I won't force you to read it in your best Scottish accent, just know that comes highly suggested.
Yes, Sassenach. I need to. No, I can't.
It's
going to come out like Irish.
It's fine. It's fine.
But saying Sassenach gets me in the mood. Okay, up the close and down the stair, Butt and Ben, we Burke and Hare. Burke's the butcher, Hare's the thief, knocks the boy that buys the beef.
Right?
So dark.
It's so dark, but that last line is like, he
knocks the boy that buys the beef.
He does buy the beef.
That is actually, that could be like a line in a rap. Like, knocks the boy that buys the beef.
And then people are like, I wonder what this means. Yes. Well, thank you all so much, as always, for listening to this episode of #History.
We will share the pictures that we discussed on the episode to our Instagram, and all sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use, share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
Speaking of Instagram, be sure to check us out on there at #history_podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Maybe our best. Say it right. Edinburgh, Scotland. I have to say that a lot of times in this episode. Mm-hmm. Obtained for the medical studies to dissect in the course of their studies. Medical students is what I meant to say. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was just going to let you keep going. But I hate MLMs. Whenever you say MLM or anyone says MLM, I always think my first thought is mixed martial arts, MMA. So I'm always like,
that's awesome.
Why are we talking about kickboxing?
My sister, but Mary Patterson.
No, she bounded.
I know, I saw that.
Just saying, if we need to pause Titanic to get more food, there's a Jack in the Box about 5 minutes away.
You think I don't know where the Jack in the Box is near you? I frequent it pretty much every time I come here. Literally. Is that how you say it? I didn't look it up.
Or Docherty?
Docherty. That sounds better, huh?
Does it? I don't know.
Docherty. Never mind. Named probably Margaret.
Huh? I said it probably doesn't matter.
Obviously I didn't care enough to look it up. Named Margaret Docherty. And when they were alone, they searched. Did you just hit? I saw it out of the corner of my eye. What'd you hit? Your teeth? I saw your head like reverberate. They. Oh yeah. Yes. I guess we both failed the drink. Assistant. Metal. Can you stop?